Hey everybody, Low Carb Keith here. I'm back in my kitchen and I want to make another delicious low carb recipe. You know, sometimes you find a recipe that you want to make and you follow it to the T and it works out fine. And sometimes you just decide that you're going to make something up. I'm a big believer that you don't throw things away if you don't have to. And sometimes you got things in the cupboard or in the refrigerator that you need to use. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make, excuse me, what I'm calling a keto leftover skillet. So let me show you what I'm going to use today. First of all, I have got a pound of ground beef, which is not leftover, but I needed to use it or freeze it. I've also got a jar of marinara sauce. This is low carb marinara sauce. You know, a lot of people use, and I've used the Rao's before, but it's fairly expensive. It's like $9 for a jar like this. And I discovered this silver pallet at Kroger, and it has the same amount of carbohydrates as the Rao's does, but it was about half the price. So I got a couple of, it was on sale actually, and I got a couple of jars of this to use. So I'm going to use this. I've got some leftover bacon that is already cooked and I've chopped up. And I had some sliced mushrooms that I needed to use. I've got some Italian seasoning, some minced onion, and some shredded cheese that almost is all gone I need to use. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a skillet. The first thing that we do is we put a couple of tablespoons of butter in the skillet because we're going to cook our mushrooms first. Add those in there. And I'm going to add the bacon bits at the same time when I cook the mushrooms. So and we just want to let those mushrooms cook down. And these are just regular old button mushrooms that I got at the store, and they were going to start turning on me here before long. So I wanted to go ahead and use them up. Yeah, I like the way that's looking right there. So let's just take these off, and we're going to put them in a bowl, set it off to the side. Okay. And now we're going to add our ground beef and cook our ground beef. There we go. Now we're going to add our vegetables back in, our mushrooms and our bacon. Put that in there. Add that back. And there was one other thing that that I failed to mention that I was going to put in here that I forgot about. Excuse me. And that is, I have got some of that cauliflower rice that was frozen that I had. Excuse me. I had that cauliflower rice that was frozen that I had from a couple of weeks ago. So I'm just going to add that in. That is really going to give this dish some fullness. And we're just going to mix that in there. The cauliflower rice is going to cook. Excuse me. I've still got a little bit of the sinus issue that's going on. All right, so that's in there. Now I'm going to add some minced onion, which is going to be about 2 tablespoons of minced onion in this. You could use fresh onion if you wanted to. And I'm going to add some Italian seasoning, just to give it a little bit of flavoring. You don't want it to be bland, especially since I'm adding the marinara sauce. All right. Now what we do I'm going to mix that up. And I'm going to cover this and let this cook for just a little while because I want that cauliflower rice to cook. It was frozen when I put it in there, so, which is fine. But let's just mix it up, and we're going to let that sit for probably 5 minutes or so before we add our pasta sauce. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to add our pasta sauce. And this San Marzano marinara blend has 6 total carbs, 2 dietary fibers, so that would be 4 net carbs per half cup, and this has 6 servings in it. So that would be 24 total net carbs for this entire jar. I'm not sure I'm going to put the entire jar in, but I might. We're going to start with about half of it first. Oh, I did more than half. Yeah, it's gonna require the whole jar, so we're going to put that in there. All right. We're going to mix that up where it's good and gooey. It does look a little wet, but that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to leave this on the stove, and we're going to cover it and vent the cover, and we want this to reduce down. So we want a lot of that moisture to evaporate. This is sort of like a spaghetti sauce that we're making, but we'll see how it turns out. Once it thickens up, it'll be great to eat just kind of on its own. Or, you know, if you had some zucchini noodles, some zoodles as they call them, to put this over, it would be fantastic. So we're going to turn the heat down on this. We're going to just let it simmer and probably let it sit and go for 20 to maybe even 30 minutes. And we're going to let that moisture kind of evaporate out of it and let the sauce reduce and thicken up. So we will be back in about 20 minutes or so to check on it. My skillet dish has been reducing on the stove top for probably about 25 minutes, and it is really thickened up. It looks really, really good. So what I did is I added some cheese to it. I had some shredded cheese, just a little bit of 2 or 3 different kinds that I had in the refrigerator. I added that to it, and it really thickened up. It looks really, really good. So let's give it a taste test and let's see how it did. I'm going to get a little bit and put it in my dish, and we're going to give it a little bit of a taste. Okay, so there you go. You can kind of see what we've got there. Okay. All right, here we go. That is really good. You know, it's got the ground beef, the mushrooms, the cauliflower rice, that pasta sauce that I put in there, the marinara sauce, the cheese, and just enough flavoring with the Italian seasoning and those minced onions to give it a really nice flavor. And it's hearty. This is the kind of thing that you could put on some zoodles, you know, some miracle noodles. You could put it on top of some other vegetables, or you could eat it by itself alone. It's really, really good. And it's low carb. This is delicious. It just goes to show you that you don't have to have a fancy recipe to come up with something on your own that you can make that is delicious and low carb in your own kitchen. Just look and see what you've got. Things that are about to go bad, things that you're going to have to throw out if you don't use within a couple of days. and figure out a way to make a dish that, that suits you and suits your low-carb lifestyle. So here we go. This is what I'll be eating the next few days. I hope you get a chance to make it in your kitchen. And thanks for watching.